In this lesson, you're going to set up the join page for the chat application. So we're going to allow users to provide their username and the room they'd like to join. They'll submit the form and then they'll be redirected over to that chat room. So what we need to do is create a separate HTML file right here in the public directory. We're going to create one called chat.html. Now, index.html, that's the home page, and that's actually going to be the join page. Chat.html is going to contain everything we have in the other file. That means to get started, we're going to head over to index.html. We're going to highlight everything in this file, copying it to the clipboard, and we're going to paste it over in chat.html. This file doesn't need to be changed anymore. We are just taking all of that chat code and moving it over here. Now, index.html is going to be the join page, and we're going to get started by gutting everything we're not going to need. We're going to leave the head of the document exactly as it currently exists. Down below for the body, we're going to remove everything. So we're removing our div with all of the chat content. We're removing all of our templates. And we're removing every single script tag down below. That's going to leave us with an empty body, and we'll focus on building up the markup for the chat page. So to get started, let's go ahead and create a div. This is going to have a class on it since we're still taking advantage of our styles. Right here, that class is centered-form. And from there, we'll add another div right inside. The reason for the divs is to just provide us with a nice layout, which we'll see in a few moments. Right here, that is going to be another div with the class centered form __ box. Now inside of here, we're going to put the actual form content, and I'll start off with a title tag using an h1. Right here, I could say something like join or something similar. Now, with this in place, let's go ahead and refresh our index.html page just to make sure it's looking good so far. Over here, I'll give things a refresh. No longer do we see our chat content. Instead, I see my join form. Now from here, we're actually going to add the form into the mix. Right here, we are going to set up the form with the following elements inside. We'll start off with a label. We're going to use labels to describe the form fields. And the first thing we'll ask the user for is their display name. So I'll set the label equal to display name. And down below, we're going to create the input where the user can type that name in. Now we are going to set up some attributes for this input. First up, the type, that'll equal to text. It's a simple text field where they can type anything they'd like. Then we'll go ahead and give this a name. I'm going to name it username. From there, just a couple more. We're going to set up placeholder to show some text in the input when nothing is typed. I'll just match it up with the label. So that would be display name. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and set required and no value is provided. We just list it out. This is going to use a little HTML5 form validation to make sure a value is actually typed in. Next up down below, we'll be creating another label for the other field. This is the room name. I can call this room. And then we'll set up the input for that as well, very similar to what we have up above. So the input type is indeed text. We'll set up a name for this input, something like room gets the job done. Right here, I'm also going to set up a placeholder, room, followed by finally required, since you are going to have to provide a value for that as well. Now, the last thing we need here is a button. This button can have the text of something like join or submit or whatever you'd like. Now, this alone is going to get everything rendered correctly. The only problem is that it's not going to bring us over to the chat page when the user submits the form. To fix that, we're going to set up the action attribute on our form, and we just provide /chat.html, the path to the page we want to redirect them. Now we can go ahead and actually test things out. So to get started, we're going to refresh the homepage right here, localhost 3000, and I see my form showing up and it looks really nice. If I try to submit it, I can see that I do have to fill out these fields. So I'll pick a name, something like Andrew, and I'll pick a room. Let's go ahead and use something like South Philly. And then I'll go ahead and click join to join that room with this username. Now, currently, we don't have any code for actually doing that. That's okay. If we click the join button, though, we should get redirected over to the chat page, and you can see our form data as part of the query string up above. So now this page can extract that data and use it when connecting to socket.io. And that's exactly what we'll end up working on. So we have that join page and we have our chat page, and users can switch between them. So at this point, we do have the HTML for the page in place, and that's where we're going to stop for this one. We'll be continuing on working on this page and the chat.html page, actually using both the display name and the room name when connecting to the server. I'm excited to get to that. It's where we're going to stop for this one, so I'll see you in the next lesson.